Magandang araw sa inyong lahat. Ako po si Julina Magdangal at ito ang The Working President. Patuloy na angat hanggang sa pagtatapos ng taong ito ang ekonomiya ng Pilipinas base sa pagtaas ng Gross Domestic Product o GDP ng bansa mula 0.8 hanggang 1.8% ayon sa National Economic Development Authority o NEDA. Ayon dito, sa unang quarter pa lamang ng taon, nakitaan na ng magandang performance ang ekonomiya at inaasahang magpapatuloy ito hanggang sa pagtatapos ng 2009. Isa sa mahalagang bahagi ng patuloy na pagganda ng ating ekonomiya ang iba't ibang programa at tulong na nakukuha natin mula sa pakikipag-ugnayan sa ibang bansa. Tulad na lamang sa nakaraang pagbisita ni Pangulong Arroyo sa Brazil. Alamin natin ang magagandang balita ng Pangulo mula sa matagumpay na pagbisitang ito. Narito ang special report.
Isang makasaysayang pagbisita sa Brazil ang isinagawa ni Pangulong Gloria Macapagal Arroyo mula June 22 hanggang 25. Siya pa lamang ang kauna-unahang Pangulo ng Pilipinas na nag-state visit sa bahagi ito ng South America matapos ang pagdalaw ng kanyang ama na si Diosdado Macapagal bilang Vice-Presidente noong 1960.
Well, on July 4, 1946, when we had our independence, Brazil actually was one of those countries which sent a representative to attend the independence rites in the Philippines. And then in 1960, Vice President Diosdado Macapagal came to Latin America, visited several countries, including Brazil, to try to forge relations between the Philippines and the South American countries. Vice President Diosdado Macapagal was the highest-ranking official from the Philippines to visit Brazil in 1960. And then, eventually, of course, he became president. And in 1966, he came back after he finished his mandate, and then he was then with the wife and now President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo.
Ang state ng Pernambuco ang unang destinasyon ni Pangulong Arroyo sa Brazil. Bagamat bumuhos ang napakalakas na ulan sa kanyang pagdating, ay mainit pa rin siyang sinalubong ng local officials ng estado at hinandugan ng dinner ni Governor Eduardo Campos. Sa Pernambuco rin matatagpuan ang isang Filipino investment sa Brazil, ang TWP, na subsidiary ng International Container Terminal Services Incorporated o ICTSI, ang pinakamalaki at pinakamatagumpay na container terminal operator di lamang sa Pilipinas kundi sa iba't ibang bahagi ng mundo. Ang ICTSI ay pinamamahalaan ni Chairman Enrique Razon.
Well, Brazil, we started here in Suape, which is just outside Recife in the year 2000. And at that point, Brazil was coming out of a recession, and it's such a big country, resource-rich. As a matter of fact, it's one of the top countries now in the world economically, and it's such a huge country, and that's why we've always been interested in Brazil. It was an international tender where several companies bidded, and we fortunately won the bid. And we started operations here, I believe, end of 2000. Initially, we invested $75 million, and we have a second program now of $45 million, which is ongoing at this point.
30 years ang concession agreement ng ICTSI at Tecon Suape sa management and operation ng Suape Container Terminal na may laking 30 ektarya sa Suape Port. Ang naturang pantalan ay may layong 40 kilometro o 1 oras na biyahe mula sa Recife, ang kapitolyo ng Pernambuco State.
Okay, you know, in northeast part of Brazil is not the richest part. Actually, we are installed in the poorest part of the country, and the kind of company as Tecon Suape by ICTSI group, the investment they did is a very high commitment with the social and economic benefits for the region, for the state of Pernambuco, for the cities around Suape Port. So the contribution is a lot because the company pays many taxes. The company offered a lot of jobs, 400 for a while. When we began, it was 70 people, now it's 400. And the company make the dynamic contribution for the logistics and port and maritime sector in order to attract new other business for Suape.
Binisita ni Pangulo Arroyo ang Tecon Suape sa ikalawang araw niya sa Brazil. Doon niya nakita ang expansion program ng kumpanya at nalaman ang mga tagumpay nito sa loob lamang ng 8 taon.
It's a very great honor for everybody who works for the Suape company that belongs to a Philippine group, ICTSI, commanded by Mr. Enrique Razon, a kind of very courageous and audacious entrepreneurship and businessman that believed that he could do what actually now the Suape is doing. Since the beginning, that time nobody or few people could imagine that in only 7, 8 years after the beginning of the concession, the Suape could reach the numbers as we have now. I told in the beginning of the Suape, before the Suape Port handled 30,000 TEUs per year. In 2008, just the Suape handled 300,000, 10 times more. From the beginning of the concession by the World Bank IFC studies for the concession bid, the forecast for 300,000 TEUs per year was for the 20th year on the concession. We got this in the 7th year. This performance during these 8 years now of the concession has motivated strongly Mr. Razon to continue investing on the Suape, much more than forecasted before. And the company responded with high volumes every year. So this is why now we are finishing the expansion of the Suape in the first phase. It is a very big honor that the President of Philippines comes to Brazil, this is the first time, come to Pernambuco to visit the Suape.
Continue to expand not only in other ports in Brazil, but generally in the region. We have a project now in Buenos Aires, Argentina. We're here in Brazil for the last 9 years, and we have a new terminal that we're building in Buenaventura in Colombia. And we're operating the biggest port in Ecuador right now in Latin America. So we have very aggressive expansion plans in Latin America.
At bago lumipad papunta sa ikalawa niyang destinasyon sa Brazil, kinumusta ni Pangulo Arroyo ang ilang Pinoy seamen na nagtatrabaho sa barkong Santos Express. Pinasalamatan niya ang mga kababayang nagsasakripisyo sa ibang bansa upang maitaguyod ang kanilang pamilya at pinuri sila sa kanilang kontribusyon sa ekonomiya ng Pilipinas. Nagtungo rin sa estado ng Rio de Janeiro si Pangulo Arroyo upang tumingin ng iba pang investment opportunities para sa bansa. Ang bisita sa Rio de Janeiro ay bahagi ng isinagawang state visit ng Pangulo sa Brazil. Malugod na tinanggap dito ng mga local government officials sa pangunguna ni Mayor Eduardo Paez at ilang miyembro ng kanilang lehislatura ang Pangulo sa Palacio da Cidade sa distrito ng Botafogo.